Good morning, friends and enemies. In today's video, I'm actually bringing on four of my friends and enemies. You don't know which is which, you don't know who is who, but they are Dynasty creators, all right? We've got Mason from Fantasy Flock. We've got Big Ron Stewart from The Basement. We've got Corey and Danny from Fantasy Stock Exchange, and I am forcing them to pick one and only rookie that they will not be leaving any of their Dynasty rookie drafts without, okay? We sat down, we chopped it up, and we went in detail with each of the players that they picked. And in tomorrow's video, we're going to do the exact same thing, but players that they are avoiding. So each of them had to pick a player that they think is being overhyped, that they are staying away from relative to ADP, relative to consensus. All right. So if you're a fan of any of these creators, make sure you give the video a thumbs up, and I will link all of their channels down below if you want more information. Now, the reason that they were in New York, the reason that they were in the office, the reason that they were able to collab is because we were actually running an in-office NFL trivia tournament. So we've got, BDGE has a whole nother YouTube channel dedicated just to, playing games, NFL trivia style. So if you're looking for more of an entertainment, a relaxed feel, that will be linked down below. We've been doing that for a long time. Some of you guys are probably not aware of that, but all those creators plus a ton more are in the tournament. That content will start to trickle out over the next few weeks. So give that a subscribe. Give a subscribe to all the creators in this video. Subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this video. Again, tomorrow we'll be doing the same thing, but players we do not like. All right, I'm done talking. Let the boys eat. All right, so the first guest up on the big, bright orange chair that he barely fits in, we've got Ron Stewart from The Basement. Ronald, welcome to the Big Apple. Welcome to New York City. Welcome to the BDGE Dynasty channel. You are you're first into the chair, so you get you get the pick of any player in rookie drafts. I know you've been deep in the spreadsheets.
Yep.
So I know you're going to come with some heat today.
Yep.
So we're talking about players that we are way higher on the consensus, if they're early round guys or just dudes you're trying to leave every rookie draft with. I know you came prepared. I know you've got a guy in mind. Let's hit it.
Yep. Well, I'll say thank you for having me, of course. The Big Apple has been very good to me.
Except for the
Jets and,
and
sometimes there are homeless people in the streets.
For half a block.
Yeah, that's what it is. But for me, and this is a my guys list, and I'm very thankful that I was the first guy here. I get to pick the sexiest pick. I'm going to go with Travis Hunter, who is, I don't know, I guess like consensus would be like 108, 109. There's people that are like staunchly on the internet of like, this guy can't play both ways. He's going to play corner. And for me, it's from the top, because that's what you have to start with Travis Hunter, is what's he going to be in the NFL? Right now it looks like he's going to be a Brown. I think there was actually a report yesterday that he was like, I'm not going to a team that's not going to give me the opportunity to play either way. So I do want to start from that side of things with Travis Hunter. And for me, like my baseline expectation is not that he comes out and says, screw everybody, I'm going to play 90% of the routes year one and be a monster. I think he's going to play like 50% for the Browns, and it's going to get to the point where we all look at it and it's like, oh my God, he has a 2.7 yards per route run. He's amazing on a per route basis. And then heading into that next offseason, he's like, okay, I'm going to play full time, and everybody gets very excited. And I do think that he is the kind of talent where if you just want to look at wide receivers that have the ability to get into the Jefferson, Jamar Chase, first round startup value tier, that is Travis Hunter for me. So when you look at it in terms of like, okay, is he going to give you a ton of production year one? No, but that's kind of how he was at Colorado, right? Where he, or even back to Jackson State, he had like maybe 200 receiving yards and like 600-ish. And then he had a Heisman season. So that's really what I'm hoping for. And then, like, the player, like, I just don't want to bet against, like, a generational talent, right? He is Shohei Ohtani. He is – I truly believe whatever he ends up doing, he'll be an all-pro, potential Hall of Famer type of guy. And he just crushes everything. But he's been looked at, like, sideways of, like, oh – because I have heard other nerds, the funny part, where it's, like, his profile, like, isn't that much better than, like, Matthew Golden because he didn't, like, produce very early. But –
like, the Dynasty community is so obsessed with not putting context to anything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Exactly. It's something that I'm trying to get better at now, because it's like, oh, he didn't have an 18-year-old breakout age or whatever. It's like, well, like, so did Rondell Moore and, like, a bunch of guys that have burned me in the past. So I don't care much about breakout age. I just care about producing early on. And he actually, it's funny enough, he, like, kind of flashed at Jackson State. He kind of flashed at Colorado. And he finally plays. And one of the stats I've been messing around with in the spreadsheets is career passer rating when targeted. So it's just like when you get targeted, are you doing good things? Like, you would hate this is a dumb comparison, but if you're ever playing like Madden in my career and you're like pressing A for the ball as a receiver and then like your quarterback throws a pick, like that's bad for your team. Like you shouldn't when you're getting targeted, like interceptions shouldn't be happening, incompletion shouldn't be happening. And if you look at the last 3 draft classes in terms of career passer rating in the first round, the only guys that have him beat are Brian Thomas Jr., JSN, then is Travis Hunter at 137.8. Then you have Marvin Harrison Jr. So it's just like when you pass in the ball, good things happen. And that's a career number. That's from PFF all the way back to Jackson State. So he's a monster. And I did want to add one last thing about him that I think is amazing. Something that you definitely don't want to look at is contested target rate. Or you do want to look at it, but you don't want to have it very highly. Where Quentin Johnson, this is the percentage of targets that are contested, right? You don't want to be a 50-50 jump ball guy. Pretty much like the poster boy for this is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. 46% of his targets in college were contested.
Hey, fun highlights, though.
Yeah.
Fun highlights
exactly.
on those targets.
Fun highlights. Like, everyone gets, like, juiced up. But it's like, at the end of the day, he's mossing Pac-12 kids, you know? And then you can look at Quentin Johnson was someone that I actually liked. But you look back, 27% of his targets were contested. Anything over, like, 25% is pretty rough. Travis Hunter, of course, is, like, all the way he's all the way down at, like, 13%. But the crazy part is his contested catch rate is 63%. So he's getting open, but when it is a jump ball, he is like the best we've ever seen for a first round pick. I guess JSN is a higher percentage, but he has like 14 total in his career, whereas Travis Hunter is much higher. So he gets open. When you need him to catch a 50-50 ball, it's actually a 60-40 ball. It's just a guy that I'm not betting against. And I think everyone wants to interject, well, he did it in college, but it's not going to work in the NFL. It's like, I'm not going to tell a guy who is like the greatest college football player I've ever seen what he can and can't do. I'd rather, because his floor is different, right? When you're drafting Tet, it's like his floor is he could be a bad wide receiver. Is there a very small chance that Travis Hunter could be bad in the NFL? Sure, but I'm so certain in the talent that his downside is more predicated on his usage than it is talent. So let me just bet on the talent at like 104-ish, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the storyline for Travis Hunter is he has been so adamant that he has done this his whole life. He's been very outspoken about it. And then you look at where he's most likely to land. The Vegas odds point to Cleveland. And then you just start to look at their GM, Andrew Berry. He's coming out, and he's like, we look at him as a wide receiver first. And I think, like, Deion did him such a favor allowing him to play 95%. And, like, this is maybe a different story if he doesn't have Deion Sanders there, where you have a coach that's like, that doesn't understand where Travis Hunter is coming from. And he's like, you're not going to let you play both sides. We're not going to let you show that. And, you know, there's the comparisons of Travis Hunter to past players who have played both sides of the ball. None of them were Heisman-worthy type of wide receivers.
It's not even close.
It's not close. And, like, when I think about Travis Hunter, he has so much of that, like, Stephon Diggs ability to him. And people know it. Like, when Diggs came out, he had, like, a relatively slow start to his career because he's behind Adam Thielen. He's a later round pick. Whereas, like, Hunter is Stephon Diggs, but you're about to get number 2 overall draft capital. And you're going to a place like Cleveland that, like, badly needs other playmakers there to turn that team around. So, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a slow start, but I don't think anyone really has questions about whether or not he's a separator at wide receiver and whether or not he can step on the field day one and be a playmaker. So it's like one of those dudes that you just know is so fucking good at football. It's like, we should probably throw the stat sheets out. And I'm not, you know, I've gone more into, like, the film over the recent years, but it's not something that I completely get away from when I want to look at the numbers. He's just a dude that it's just so obvious. If we look back and he hits, everyone's going to be like, obviously. Like, of course he was this dude.
Exactly.
So, yeah, Travis Hunter, I couldn't be more, like, on par with you there. He's someone that's been moving up, like, by the day for me. And I'm almost, like, upset that all the reports of him being so adamant about it and, like, you know, everything just kind of breaking towards him playing a lot of receiver at the next level is happening because he'll move more and more up those rankings. But, yeah, I have no problem with someone being the 103, 104 and taking Hunter there. I would ask you, though, if he was in last year's class, right? I think, like, let's say last year's rookie draft went, like, Caleb, Jaden, Drake May. And then you're looking at that group of receivers in Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, and then probably BTJ. Imagine you're in a rookie draft last year and Travis Hunter, doing what he just did this year, was in that class. Where do you think you'd be drafting him? Would it be right above Rome? Would it be right behind Rome? Would it be right behind BTJ? Or would it be above, like, Malik?
It would have been. I'm someone that I wasn't super high on Odunze. I thought he's great, and I trust the film guys. Like, I know, like, Matt Harmon had, like, glowing things to say about him.
Yeah, his RP profile
was amazing. Where it was like, this guy could be Devontae Adams. So I was like, you know what? I'll throw the numbers aside. Odunze's fine. I think I'm making a video really soon of like him being a sell. But in terms of like him as a prospect, I would have had Hunter ahead of those two guys because there is something as well where like I'm also kind of assuming that he would have went like top 6 in the NFL draft too to be like corner/wide receiver. But yeah, just in terms of what I see, I would have Harrison and Neighbors ahead of him because those guys are just like can't miss. Like don't even play with your food there. Yeah. But like especially like in this class versus those, like I would have Odunze, Brian Thomas, Tet kind of all in a similar tier for me. So that's where I would put Hunter ahead because I just think the floor and the ceiling. Like I said, like if anyone's going to join, the Jefferson Chase tier, like I do think it is Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I did a video a few days ago combining the two classes, like if they had all come out in the same class, and that's kind of where I landed, where it was like the clear MHJ, the clear Malik Neighbors. Obviously, easy to look back in hindsight and be like BDJ. Yeah. But it was Rome, BTJ, and then like Hunter, Tet were kind of in that tier. And I think looking back, I probably would have had Hunter above BTJ, behind Rome, just because.
I think that's fair. Yeah, you went like you top 10 was a great
right,
prospect.
Like top 10. Yeah, you know your link with Caleb Williams. There's so much excitement around it, but yeah, I think we're aligned with Travis Hunter, and I feel like more people need to start considering using like serious draft capital on him.
Yeah, and then you're also like I didn't mention you're thinking about the money part of like receivers making all this money versus like corners like are doing okay.
I mean, is there a chance he plays both ways and gets like a quarterback type contract?
No, I think you're right. Like his ceiling is highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, but like a wide margin.
And by that point, I mean, what did Jamar just get? 33 a year?
Yeah, it was like 33 or something.
33, and by the time Travis Hunter gets his real contract, 3 or 4 years, the inflation, he might be at like 40, 42, 47 or some shit like that, which is wild. Next up on the couch, we've got none other than Mason matching the chair with the hat. I had that hoodie. I got one of those from Underdog. I know they're very exclusive. Put it in the dryer. I've had it for probably like 2 or 3 years. I put it in the dryer like 2 months ago. Accidentally put high heat on, and now it's like a youth medium.
Oh, no, this is a youth medium right now. It went from adult large to youth medium. Yeah, no. You got to rep regardless.
But it has like that fit, that like hoodie fit where you're like, you're getting ready for your like JV basketball game. You put the hood on. It's like supposed to be really tight. So I'm actually super jealous you have it. After Ron, we've got Mason representing Fantasy Flock, of course, and we are continuing along players that we don't want to leave a rookie draft without. Now, Ron went first. He took Travis Hunter. So the parameter was kind of like, if they're a first-round pick, they're probably more towards the end of the first round, and you're willing to spend a premium pick on them. Otherwise, if you want to go into the second, third, fourth round, anyone's kind of on the board for you.
Okay, so here's my thought process. Again, I'll reiterate that I'm an idiot, right? If I was an NFL general manager, that team would be the Browns. They'd be the Jets. They'd be a dumpster fire for however long I was there. Mm-hmm. So what I look at specifically for quarterbacks and superflex rookie drafts is draft capital indicating are they going to get a shot? Rushing upside indicating if they get a shot, will they be actually good for fantasy? And then hopefully a situation they're stepping into. So if there's a Brock Purdy, goes to San Francisco, going to be a lot better than if he goes to Cleveland, right? So Milroe actually ends up getting round 1 draft capital where he just got invited to the NFL, like green room, whatever you want to call it. He's going to be at the draft day one of the 16 guys.
I find it so hard to believe he's going in the first, though.
I know, but if he does, if he goes in the first, he's going to have security to most likely getting a starting job at some point, and he's going to have the rushing upside where you actually know that he will be usable. Even if he's a bum for like a real life, for fantasy, if he's going to run the ball, you can throw him in at your superflex spot. So if you can get him in the second round of superflex rookie drafts right now, I'm about it.
I'm really curious to see. I mean, it's a really good call. I think like the Dynasty community as a whole has been kind of like horrendous about letting early drafted quarterbacks fall if like the consensus media doesn't like them. You know what I mean? It's like the Bo Nix, those types of guys where it's like people just tell you that they're inaccurate quarterbacks. So like they fall to the 112, the 2-1, the 2-2, and we're just consistently wrong about those things. If Milroe goes in the first round, which again, he's been invited to the NFL draft, and I think they've been a little bit more tight with their ship over recent years where they're not trying to invite a bunch of guys that are going to sit there late into the day or into the second round. We saw it with Will Levis, so there's obviously always a chance. Milroe feels like a little bit of a project, but like, I don't know, maybe some team sees Lamar Jackson type of upside and takes him in the mid-20s or something.
And even if he goes in the Levis range, like even if he's an early second rounder, I'm still completely fine taking him in the second round rookie drafts.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. If he falls into that range of, like, let's say, pick 26 to 34,
Yeah.
I think there will be a lot of hype, a lot of people probably looking at it the same way you're looking at it. If that's the case, are you willing to take your shot on him over the dudes that are kind of like borderline first, early seconds, you know, whether it's Emeka Egbuka, Caleb Johnson, Luther Burden type of tier?
It would have to be a really good landing spot. Like if he goes to a team where you think, hey, the situation's set up for him to, it doesn't need to start right away, but he's going to not sit forever, and he has decent weapons with a decent coaching staff around him, then I think you almost have to based off upside. Yeah. But again, on the flip side of this, if he ends up going in the second round to a spot where it looks like he's not starting anytime soon, and if he does start, it's going to be to a horrible organization. I think there's a wide range of outcomes of where he ends up going, but right now where I see him like consensus late second round rookie draft pick, I'm in on there.
Yeah, it's tough to get a feel for like where he's really going to go right now because he's one of those like jigsaw puzzles, whereas the Egbukas of the world, the Matthew Goldens, it's like for the most part we know they're going between probably pick 15 and 25 to like a wide receiver needy team. So it's like we can kind of slot them in within a 4 to 5 pick range of rookie drafts. For Milroe, it's like he can go anywhere from, you know, he could be a 3rd round pick. He could be a 4th round pick if no one wants to take the shot on him, and then he falls into rookie drafts. But you know, we've just seen this story many times. The Josh Allen, the Bo Nix, even like Jalen Hurts. Well, day 2 pick and went end of 2nd round pick.
Exactly. Now keep in mind, this process is what led me to go all in on Trey Lance, which we can move past that. But also on my teams, I had a ton of Jalen Hurts for the same reason. He went round 2. Everybody at the time was like, oh, okay, well, he's not going to start. You just look at the historical data and the chance that he would get a starting job and have the rushing upside. He could have been a bum. I had no idea, but I knew he was going to run the ball a ton. And then also I drafted a ton of Penix, and I had a consensus on Penix last year because if you went and looked at all the data over the past 30 years, it's like any quarterback drafted that high is starting by year 2.
Same. I was all in on Penix. I was like the 2.4, 2.5 is an insane draft for Penix. 100%. There's no chance he's not a starter within like the next year or 2. Yeah. It was crazy. All right, so we got Jalen Milroe here. So we've got 2 very, very opposite players. We got Travis Hunter locked and loaded as a top 3 pick. We got Jalen Milroe locked and loaded as a top 300 pick. We know that for sure. But we will be taking him in our rookie drafts early if we get top 35 draft capital. Mason, thank you, sir. Gracias. All right, moving on to our next guest. We've got Mr. Corey Bushton over here representing Fantasy Stock Exchange. We had Ron grab Travis Hunter. We had Mason grab Jalen Milroe. Corey, I know you're disappointed because you wanted to grab Milroe. Maybe you wanted Hunter, but you're going to have to pick. You're going to have to pick third. That's what I do to the Canadians. You want to talk about tariffs. You want to talk about tariffs. This is what we call a fantasy tariff, all right? What you got?
Yeah, like I deadass would have taken both of those guys if I had the opportunity. But Quinshon Judkins is the player that I'm targeting in all of my drafts. I realize there's some scrutiny on some of his efficiency marks. You know, you look at some of the yards per carry marks, yards after contact, missed tackles forced. It doesn't tell the whole story. I think one of the biggest edges available in Dynasty Fantasy Football is scouting an entire prospect profile, years 1 to 3 in Judkins' case. What did he do at Ole Miss as a freshman? What did he do at Ole Miss as a sophomore? What did he do at Ohio State as a junior? And the way he progressed as a player started, you're running in zone kind of RPO type of scheme with Jackson Dart and Ole Miss there. He had his best season as a freshman. He's 18 years old, 1,500 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns, best missed tackle force rate that season. Going into his junior season at Ohio State, we saw 2 really solid years from him at Ole Miss. And Chip Kelly has Trevion Henderson, who is one of the top running backs in this class already, who's a better pass protector and a better receiver than Quinshon Judkins, and is better than in space than Quinshon Judkins with, better speed and, those type of instincts. So I look at Judkins as he already was the guy and did everything he was supposed to do at Ole Miss. So when you watch the Ole Miss tape, you see the breakaway runs, you see the more explosive plays, you see the missed tackles forced. And then at Ohio State, he's in more of a pro-style gap type of scheme, running 5 yards in a cloud of dust every single play to clear up those fancy carries for Trevion Henderson. And he was still the red zone guy. He's still able to actually improve his receiving numbers a little bit despite being on the field on those type of downs less. And you just look at the peripherals. You got a guy who was one of the best college football running backs for 3 straight years, who's barely 21 years old, who has a 9.9 RAS score, athletic profile, and who's going to go in the top 50 of the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, like his combine numbers, they surprised me a little bit, just having the weight along with the speed, because he's a guy like, yeah, he did break away at Ole Miss. When you do watch the Ohio State tape, you're like, Henderson looks unreal next to Judkins, because Judkins was doing all the hard work, right? You're like watching it, you're seeing good plays here. He's a guy who's like compiling a lot of stats. And I'm talking to, Casey and Jack, because they watch a lot of college football. Casey's, he went to Ohio State, and he's like, Judkins is the guy over Travion Henderson. Henderson has trouble staying, on the field. To me, it does seem very much like a Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery situation, where Judkins, I think we've kind of seen this storyline happen a lot in the NFL, when you have guys that get there and they have good prospect profiles and they're not like overly efficient at the NFL level. We've seen this happen with Najee. We've seen it happen with Joe Mixon. We've seen it happen with David Montgomery, a little bit more efficient probably, but it's like a matter of just saying that they're good, and as long as they're in a pretty good situation and getting volume because they have the draft capital, they're going to be good for fantasy. They don't necessarily need to have the 60-yard breakout runs, even though he did have that at Ole Miss. So Judkins is a really interesting guy who will get top 40 draft capital. I tweeted this out a couple months ago. It'd be fucking electric if Ben Johnson, who goes to Chicago, they have the 39th and the 41st pick, take Judkins and fucking Henderson back-to-back with those picks. That would be something I would pay serious money for.
Yeah, again, I feel like it's really prospect fatigue with Quinshon Judkins, because way back, 2021, 2022 Devy days, people were like, Judkins the 101 in Devy drafts, and I feel like when you've been that good for your whole college career, people start to get sick of you a little bit. And that's kind of what's happening with Judkins. And I know this stuff is...
To be fair, though, his numbers are much worse at Ohio State than they were at Ole Miss.
I'm not trying to dismiss the fact that his numbers were worse, even his second year at Ole Miss, too. But when you're the guy for that long and you carry 800-plus touches, you never miss a snap, never miss a game. That's a skill. That's a skill. And I know some of this other stuff is subjective, but the anticipation of being able to run behind any blocking scheme is difficult to learn. Sure. And doing that in multiple schemes in college football at an SEC school and a team that won the national championship is a lot of reps under your belt for such a young player. You don't see young players who aren't like redshirt seniors have the amount of reps that Quinshon Judkins has and as durable as Judkins had. My comp for Judkins, it's ranged from like a number of different things. I'll give like low, medium, and high-end comps.
Yeah, do something similar.
On the low end, I think he has a very similar prospect profile to Tank Bigsby, where Tank Bigsby kind of peaked as a freshman, kind of tapered off as his college football career went around. But then you see in Jacksonville now, took him a year, but he's starting to figure things out and piece things together. Median end, my prospect model likes Rashad Penny, Darius Geis, and J.K. Dobbins as the comps there in terms of what their profiles look like. Analytically, he does stack up very closely with former Ohio State Buckeye J.K. Dobbins. There's a lot of similarities in that regard.
One of the hardest things to do when you're scouting prospects is like when they go to a school, you're like, oh, they remind me so much of this guy who's in the same uniform,
Yeah. On the high end, these are hyperbolic because these are some of the best running backs of my generation as someone born in the late 90s. There's instances, the vision, the anticipation, the ability to set up your blocks, the 0 to 10-yard speed on the 10-yard split was better than pretty much everyone in this class. He was 1.51 at the combine, 0 to 10 yards, and it shows up on tape. His 1.51 10-yard split is the same 10-yard split Devon Achane had, who ran significantly faster than him on the overall 40. It's the same 10-yard split Xavier Worthy had, who broke the 40-yard dash record. That is legit explosiveness, and for that reason, this player was a better receiver. Both of these players actually were better receivers than him, but Todd Gurley is my comp for him. Okay. And the vision and the patience, the ability to throttle down does have a little bit of Le'Veon Bell to it, but Bell, not quite the athlete, but a better receiver.
I don't hate the Gurley comp as a high end whatsoever. And being in that top 40 draft capital, that is typically where you see the athletes like Judkins. That's Breece Hall, Nick Chubb,
JT.
Jonathan Taylor. Yeah,
Mixon.
like they've all gone Mixon. Like they've all gone in that top 35, 40 draft capital range, where it's like you look back 1 year later and you're like, easiest pick of all time by the NFL team. So if he goes to a spot, where he can get opportunity right away, which, that draft capital would suggest that, there are not a lot of flaws on his, on his track record right now, outside of people being like, don't love the film, you know? And I do think there's warrant to that, where you watch the film and you see Trayvon Henderson and then you see him and you're like, why does this guy do this in this offense, but this guy doesn't have, 7.1 yards per carry like Henderson does? But again, if you're putting a little bit more context behind it, he's the bruiser back there. Like, he's taking all the dirty work. He's taking all the short yardage work, which is going to hurt his numbers eventually.
Yeah, and like when you talk about breaking tackles, missed tackles forced, who would you rather break a tackle against? A DB in space with Henderson? Those are the guys he's breaking tackles against, or edge, or a D lineman, or a linebacker in the hole. Like, to me, there's context behind all of it. I consider myself primarily a film guy, and I love Judkins' film. Like, I've seen other film people say, he's like my RB 7 or 8 in the class or whatever. So for me, like, he is my RB2 in the class. I have him over Omar Hampton pre-draft because I think he fits every scheme in the NFL. Whereas if Hampton gets the draft capital in the first round, which it looks like he's probably going to,
will, yeah.
and goes to specifically a gap running scheme like the Dallas Cowboys, the Pittsburgh Steelers, somebody like that, I would probably then favor Omar Hampton over Quinshon Judkins post-draft. But pre-draft, I do actually have Judkins and Hampton pretty much neck and neck, with Judkins a slight advantage.
Yeah, I would actually even consider myself more in the, didn't love his tape, but he's still like the RB4 for me, because I'm like, I'm not going to dismiss everything else, the pre-Ohio State days, what he did at the combine, what his draft capital is going to be. So it'd be like going out on a limb to not like him feels like there's no reason to do that for a dude like Judkins. All right, so there we have it. All right, next up, we got Big Danny over here. He is representing Fantasy Stock Exchange as well. So far, we have had Ron with Travis Hunter. We have had Mason with Jalen Milroe. We have had Corey with Quinshon Judkins. Danny, who is the man that you have your heart eyes on?
Yeah, my heart eyes are looking in that middle of the second round to a guy by the name of Dylan Sampson.
Love this call.
And with Dylan Sampson, you're getting a first-year starter in the SEC with over 1,500 rushing yards, 22 rushing touchdowns, and he has yet to turn 21 years old. When you watch Dylan Sampson, the number one thing both you and I saw right away is just how intelligent of a runner he is, despite being a first-year starter. We're talking about a guy from a patience perspective, tempoing his runs, short yardage situations. Yeah, we could talk about the 4.3 speed. We could talk about his ability on the outside, but his ability to slash between the tackles is the most underrated aspect to his game. On top of that, you're getting a guy that when he is in space, like I said, with that 4.3 level speed, can break off big plays. You don't score 22 rushing touchdowns in the SEC for no reason. And when we got Dylan Sampson expected day 2 level capital going in the middle of the second round of your Dynasty rookie drafts, I mean, this is the clear RB6 in the class for me. And to be honest, I think he gets a right landing spot. You're at the 201, 202. I'm perfectly comfortable pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me a lot of Achane coming out in the way that, he is undersized, right? There's no two ways about it. But we've also seen a bunch of undersized, explosive backs come out in recent years, whether it's Achane or Bucky, and if they're good, they get their chance. And like Sampson, man, I absolutely adore his film. Like, he is so good in between the tackles, and that was something with Achane too. It's like most people, they're so quick to say like, oh, you know what, you're kind of like a one-trick pony, you're explosive, you're small, you're going to get pigeonholed into this role in the NFL where there is an upside to his game. Sampson feels like the next iteration of this back that if a coaching staff grabs him with day 2 capital, and I think that's going to happen. Like, if you look around the industry, you see for the most part, I don't think people are really like super quick to say, hey, I kind of want him in that Omarion Hampton or like Quinshon Judkins range, but he's like always the next guy. And I think if he had a little bit more size, you give him another like 10 to 12 pounds, which is obviously saying a lot. But if you did that, I think most people would be looking at him right there with the top backs in this class. He can add everything to your offense, such an explosive element to it. And I hope he gets a capital. I hope he gets a great landing spot, and I hope he gets a chance to like be the guy somewhere.
Just contextualizing that he is currently 20.4 years old, coming off a 22 rushing touchdown season, and he's listed at less than 205 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, Tennessee, again, you're getting that competition too, where it's like you're facing the best D linemen. You are facing the holes that you're going to see at the NFL level, man. And if you're able to react that quickly, that's like his vision is perfect. You very rarely slow down the film and see him making incorrect decisions going through the hole. And he could finish violently if he wants to. You know what I mean? Like, he could be a 3-down back. Kyrie Williams, another really good example of that, who runs angry. He's not someone that's going to break away all the time, but Sampson has that extra juice. So I think like you give him an early down role, you let him make big plays, you let him rip in the receiving game a little bit. I think you're looking at an extremely high upside player for sure.
I believe it was Hayden Winks that tweeted this stat that on his 36 short yardage runs, he converted 33 of them.
I mean, not surprising. Like you do see a lot of that, like with the smaller backs, even like Aaron Jones is like a 205-pound back. When they allowed him to be the goal line back in Green Bay all those years ago when like Rodgers was really ripping in his prime, I mean, Jones was the dude that was rushing for like 14, 16, 17 rushing touchdowns because he was so good at seeing those small creases on the goal line. And that, again, reminds me of what Sampson brings to the field.
Yeah, I had to watch him rush for 4 against my Cowboys and wave to us as he was walking into the end zone. So I'm familiar with undersized Aaron Jones being able to score. Some guys just got the knack.
Yeah, Jones has certainly broken a lot of hearts. Dylan Sampson will break those hearts if you do not draft his ass in the second round of rookie drafts. There we have it. Cut. End of video. Thank you, Mason. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Corey. And thank you, Danny, for joining me on the channel. Again, if you guys enjoyed the video, go hit the button that looks like this, subscribe to the channel, and go subscribe to all of those guys' channel. Same thing tomorrow. Bad players we hate, and then check out the NFL Trivia channel for BDGE if you enjoyed the video.